Hi, my name's Michael and I'm an educational media specialist here at Macquarie. Recently I've been looking into using video-based assessments in learning across non-traditional disciplines, so disciplines that aren't being taught how to make video. What we're finding more and more in the modern world is that authentic assessment and assessment using a variety of media is an important real-world skill. It's an important skill that all of us need to communicate in the world nowadays. So more and more to be able to communicate what we think, communicate how to persuade people, these kind of things are modern tools that you need. So to put a foundation on what I do, I'm a multimodalist. I study educational video from a multimodal communication point of view, which is certainly building upon social semiotics, is a field where we really look at meaning making as a social process, and multimodality building upon that, looking at different semiotic modes. When we combine semiotic modes, how does the communication come across? Which different modes are doing different types of work when it comes to communication? When we have a picture in a newspaper, how is the interaction between that picture and the text adding to the communication? And that can go through a whole lot of different modes, and especially in video uses many different modes. So we analyze that and we start to look at how we communicate based on that. So that's where I come from. And what I find when I look into e-presentations, one of the really useful things to do is to start to look at what are the types. What are the types of assessment that we can do here? And a lot of the research is based around the form itself. So doing a podcast or a digital story, which is a basic audio recording with still images. Videos or slow motion is a cool one that's been coined over recent years, which is kind of like stop motion but with not as many frames, or blended media or narrated PowerPoint like I'm doing now. These are all different forms of e-presentations. But I like to then map that against types of assessment, because what work are they doing? Why are we doing it? The video essay is a term that we've used for quite a while, which I actually think is a bit of a crude term to describe what we're doing, because it's not an essay. Things like interviews with practitioners could be a better term, or sometimes we use media and assessment for creating video journals, or location analysis and field trips, possibly to replace a class presentation. You might have in your university career so far had to stand up and give a presentation of the class as a form of assessment. Well, we can do that with video. I've seen quite a lot of uses where we animate processes in science. We use video and animation to understand something better by representing it as a sequence. Or create persuasive media. And persuasive media is basically an ad, to use a better word. It's a piece of media to convince someone of something. So rather than using just linguistic arguments, we start to use visual arguments or metaphors or other types of persuasion that can come across in documentary or advertising, for instance. And all of these have benefits for e-portfolios. All of these become artifacts to demonstrate how you can communicate and how you can get yourself across in a variety of media. So this Digi Explanation site, this is a really interesting one to have a look at, and I encourage you to go have a look at this. This was funded by the federal government a couple of years ago to start to look at this as a tool in science and science education specifically. But I actually think it applies across all disciplines. It's starting to look at this idea of representation in media being a core work skill, not a skill of just filmmakers in the future. And I think I'll leave you with this one, which is one of the frameworks that I really enjoy using when I start to look at this, and it's a 21st century learning framework by Punya Mishra and Kristen Karuliak. It's starting to look at, how has knowledge changed, and what are we teaching nowadays, and what are you learning nowadays, and what are the core bits of being a learner in the 21st century. So there's always been the foundational stuff where you learn about our discipline itself. But these ideas of creativity and problem solving, sometimes what are called the soft skills when it comes to teaching and learning, but also the humanistic knowledge. So cultural competence, ethical and emotional awareness, which I find it really interesting. They put those together. I could have a long discussion on they're very different things. But the actual life skills and the job skills, and all of these together become parts of our 21st century knowledge and parts of what we are demonstrating when we go through university to be able to do. So I think when we start to look at communicating in media and communicating in different types of media, we begin to hit a few more of these than we would with a traditional written assignment or exam, for instance. So look, I hope that helps give a bit of context as to why you're being asked to do what you're being asked to do. There's a series of videos to come in this series to cover some of the things like scripting options and how to find copyright-free imagery, and how to get help with software and choose software. But I hope this helps set an initial foundation for what you've been asked to do.